Iran holds elections in 4-year cycles for president, parliament, the Assembly of Experts, and local councils. Its most recent parliamentary elections were in February 2020, and its next presidential election will be held in June 2021. This video describes how Iran manages its elections and introduces some major political figures and trends from the past 20 years. As Yasmin Alem notes, Iran holds elections for 3 main reasons. First, to manage competition among elite factions. Iran's politics is highly volatile, and holding elections is an organized forum through which they can decide and signal who is up and who is down. Second, to gauge public sentiment. While Iran's elections do not fully reflect the popular will, they have in the past provided a way for the public to register their opinion on key matters, whether through voting for reformists in the late 1990s or by not voting at all today. Third, and most important, to demonstrate public support for the regime. Iran's leadership consistently touts its high turnout figures as a demonstration that Iran's public supports the political system and the revolution. Their audience is both international and domestic, seeking to limit public discontent by showing that the majority of the people favor the status quo. Iranian officials cite its electoral process as evidence that it is a democracy, but Iranian elections are unique in 2 ways. First, an unelected body, the Council of Guardians, disqualifies candidates from running from office if they do not meet certain criteria. And second, while political parties are legal in Iran, parties are just not the way it organizes political activity. I'll start with that note on political parties. This is more a matter of tradition and practice than the law, but Iran doesn't really have political parties. It has factions. We'll talk more about what factions mean next week, but for now, you should be aware that there are currently 3 or 4 broad categories of politicians in Iran. On the left are the reformists, who held the presidency and parliament in the late 1990s under former President Ali Khatami, but who hold little formal power today. In the center are traditional conservatives like Speaker of Parliament Ali Larijani, and on the right are more hardline conservatives called principalists, represented by Ebrahim Raisi, who ran for president against Rouhani in 2017 and is currently the head of Iran's judiciary. Finally, some people describe a moderate or pragmatic faction, consisting of politicians such as President Hassan Rouhani, that while they generally espouse conservative values, they also believe in balancing those values with the need to gain public support and avoid international isolation. These are very general and debated terms, not hard and fast affiliations. For example, many people are horrified that Ali Larijani is now considered a moderate, and many would call him a principalist. Factions often publish lists of candidates they support prior to elections, but many individuals will appear on more than one faction's list. Having factions rather than parties allows politicians flexibility in forming political coalitions, but it also means there are very unclear ideological distinctions between groups. It means that parties are also not used to build support for any government, as they are in some dictatorships and some democracies. Instead, popular participation is managed through schools, religious organizations, and institutions like the Basij. Elections themselves are managed by the government in 2 ways. First, the Council of Guardians, and second, the election administration itself. The Council of Guardians has formal approval over which candidates are allowed to run for office, a process called vetting. It disqualifies candidates who do not demonstrate sufficient loyalty to the Constitution, Islam, or the principle of velayat-e-faqih, which is the rule of the supreme leader. The number of disqualifications has varied over the years, but has increased in recent elections and is increasingly used to exclude reformist and moderate candidates. In addition, the Council of Guardians has rejected female candidates from running for president, although not parliament, and in the past 2 elections did not allow a reformist candidate to run for president. The central government controls the management of elections themselves. While Iran traditionally controls its elections by limiting candidates, not falsifying actual results, the placement of loyalists to former President Ahmadinejad on local election commissions did help allow him to post unusually high turnouts and vote counts in his favor in the fraudulent 2009 election. The result is that today, Iran has a parliament dominated by conservative MPs. In the previous parliament, the pro-Rouhani Hope faction had 102 MPs. Only 7 members of that list are in the new parliament. Fewer than 20% of any of the members of the current parliament held their seat a year ago. Turnout in the most recent election hit a record low, a blow to a regime that emphasizes voting in elections as an endorsement of the political system. Iran is now gearing up for its next presidential elections in June 2021. Rouhani is term-limited, and so we will have a fully new slate of candidates. While speculation about who will run has already begun, Iran's campaign period is much shorter than the United States. Serious candidates will deny they are interested until a few months before the election, when the vetting process actually begins. So we will have to wait to see who is interested in formally leading Iran for the next 4 years.